let's buckle up, let's tighten the chin strap, and get into some Q&A from you, the viewers, that have sent in some questions and DMs over the past week. So let's get to the first one. What are the most important resources buyers should be using and why? That's a good question. Some resources buyers should be using is data. They should be asking their realtors about recent sales in the marketplace, and you want to make sure that the sales are within the last 30 to 60 days. Because the market is changing so much, it's important that you understand how the neighborhoods that you're looking in are behaving. Some still have some, bidding wars and that sort of stuff. But then you're also seeing a lot of listings sit for a while. I was just on MLS not too long ago with a client and taking a look in their neighborhood. There's listings sitting for 30, 40, 60 days. So, understand what's happening. Don't feel that you're obligated to offer the list price on stuff that's sitting. And, we're also noticing that some realtors have listed things low with the expectation of having a higher price, which doesn't make any sense. You're just wasting everybody's time. And that was a comment that I got from the realtors that, I'm not going to bother talking to this guy because although it's listed for $799, he's expecting $1 million. So it doesn't make any sense. So be patient. Really consider whether or not you want to buy in this market. And as we move into the latter part of this year, you're probably going to see more and more listings come up, which provides you more choice. So my advice is be patient, understand what's happening in the neighborhood, and don't rush into things. And don't feel that you have to compete in bidding wars as more and more listings. I believe there's less buyers out there that are fully qualifiable, and that bodes well for a qualified buyer. Okay? You're going to have options. You're going to have control, and you're going to be able to be patient. So govern yourselves accordingly and find a realtor that's not egging you on to put in a price with no conditions, no financing conditions, no inspection conditions. You are in control right now. And deal with a realtor that's going to allow you to be in control. And if you don't have one, give our office a call. We know a number of realtors out there that conduct themselves in a very professional manner and are going to listen to you and act in your best interest. And we could give you a list of them that you could contact and see who you match up best with. Okay, because a lot of this is personality as well. So thank you for that question. Let's go into another one. What should we do with the companies that purchased the Greenbelt along with Doug Ford? Okay, this is a political question. This situation has to be assessed with some common sense, okay? And yes, we could finger point and blame people, but at the end of the day, we need to build houses. We really need to build houses. And how we get there is not going to be pretty, but we gotta build houses. Whether they're affordable, I don't know if that word even exists in the Canadian marketplace, okay? But they have to be attainable, okay? Because you can't build affordable housing when 31% of the cost of housing are input taxes. So let's understand where the problem is, okay? The problem is the process is slow. You got 3 levels of government that are trying to align themselves and they can't. They just can't. You got an NDP government in Toronto, you got a conservative government in the province, and you got a liberal government in Ottawa that are all talking that they want to solve this, but they can't get to the table to come up with a resolution. So whoever is trying to build homes, whether it's in the Greenbelt or whatever, is going to have a challenge, and they're going to be finger pointed to. And you know what? Nothing's going to get built. Nothing will get built. And I always point out to a plot of land that, I don't know, it's 20, 30, 40 acres in the city of Toronto, across the way from where I live on Wilson Heights, in between Allen Road, south of Shepherd and north of Wilson. 2 fucking subway stations are on either end of this parcel of land. I've been living there since 1998, and it's been designated for high density use. Affordable housing, housing in general, just high density. It's still a field 25 years later. So at the end of the day, if you want to protect the greenhorn frog and some type of bird, instead of building houses, nothing's ever going to get built. And I'm not trying to pick on the environment. The reality is we need homes. We are the largest landmass in the world. We have space. We need to use it. Okay? And it may piss off people, but the reality is if you don't want to build any houses, don't fucking bring in immigrants. So pick your poison. What do you want? You got refugees living on the street. I was downtown, people living in parks, in tents, and everybody's complaining about how we're going to build houses. Okay? Last week, I sat watching a minor variance hearing. Okay? It was on live YouTube. And it was in the city of Toronto. And one homeowner, I think on St. Clemens or something, duplex in St. Clemens, North Toronto, okay? Like very ritzy area. They were trying to build a deck, and they wanted to exceed their deck 2 feet, okay? And because their home was newer, the deck's a little bit elevated. Both neighbors and tons of neighbors opposing a deck. And all the guy wants to do is put in a deck. But no, people are going to fight it. People are just going to fight everything tooth and nail. And just remember, in the city of Toronto, the constituents have the councillors wrapped around their finger, and that's all they care about, is stopping development. Okay? And it's going to be a challenge. I don't think anything's going to get built. Like, I hope it does, but it's never going to get built. I've seen it in my neighborhood, 25 years. 25 years. A quarter century. Not a shovel in the ground. They still just practice ambulance training, how to drive an ambulance in the parking lot there. But it's acres. I think you could put in 2,500 people. Okay? 2,500 homes in this plot of land, but they don't want to do it. Anyways, enough of my rant. Will banks offer more rate discounts to be competitive since volume is way down? I don't think so. I think a lot of lenders have challenges with their book of business. The folks that have the static mortgage payments have some challenges because their weighted loan to value ratios and not being compliant with OSFI's maximum amortization is going to give them some problems on the capital front. So they're going to have to put some more capital reserves in there. So I don't know if discounts is where it's headed. I do believe lenders are tightening up on the lending side. They're not loose by any stretch. And they're concerned about values. I think they're concerned about appraisal values. They want less exposure. They want a sense of what's happening in the marketplace and how this plays out over the next few quarters. So from a competitive perspective, I just don't see much of that. Usually in the summer, we've seen rate sales and all this stuff. Everybody's vying for market share. It doesn't seem market shares in the picture right now. But thank you very much for that question. By Kathleen at wealthplancoach.ca. Ron Butler mentioned developers are in trouble with financing. We have a pre-con house in Collingwood for Q1 2005. Should we worry? Well, I think you want to find out what's happening with the builder. Communication's key. Trying to visit the site to see if there's activity happening is important to kind of follow up on. And the reality is a lot of builders, smaller to mid-size, that don't have the capital to withstand these increase to their operating facilities and lines of credits, are going to be under pressure. We're starting to see cracks. We're starting to see things break. And new permits that are being issued have dropped significantly to levels not seen in over 10, 15 years. So there is a challenge in that sector. And I think it's incumbent on you to make sure that it's a Tarion approved builder, your deposits are covered, and to get as much information as possible and keep the lines of communication fluid so you know what's going on. And it could very well be that the builder's fully capitalized and everything will go well, but it's incumbent on you to get as much information as possible, okay? Do you foresee interest rates ever going to 3 to 3.5% again? No way for a very long time. I think ZIRP, which is zero interest rate program, it caused too much damage, caused too much inflation, caused too much demand and FOMO, and I think those days are gone. I really believe that we're going to be seeing elevated rates for a very long time. And I always point out that 5% interest rates has always been the historical average when you look at it over decades and decades, okay? We've just been very lucky having very low rates for a long time, and we benefited from it. We created inflationary values to these homes because people were able to qualify, and leverage is dangerous, right? As we've seen. You know, for the last 3 decades, I've always stressed to people, pay down your mortgage fast. Get to zero as quickly as you can. Because when you owe nothing, nobody controls you, okay? And everybody just kept on, oh, I'm just gonna make the minimum payment. You know, the amount of people that take advantage of prepayment privileges is very small, okay? It's very, very small. I think it's like 10 to 12%, okay? So people lived off the additional cash flow to live a lifestyle and didn't necessarily use it to pay down their mortgages at a record speed. When rates are at their lowest is when you have the advantage to pay down your debt quickly. And I use this example all the time. If you have a $200,000 mortgage paying 5%, your interest cost on that debt is $10,000. If you could get your balance to half of what you owe by the time it doubles, and you owe $100,000 when interest rates are 10%, your interest cost is 10%. So you're not hurt by the interest cost on the lower amount you owe. And for those people that understand how an amortization schedule works, you're always paying the most amount of interest at the beginning of your mortgage, right? Because you owe the most. As you pay it down, doesn't matter if rates go up because you owe less. So the key is always to pound down your debt.